fresh revelations out of the Pegasus scandal. Now this time emerging again in a report by The Wire about how hours after the midnight coup, CBI chief's phone had entered into the surveillance zone. Now the leaked list contains numbers of Alok Verma, his family, that of Rakesh Asthana as well, against whom the CBI had filed a case, if you'll remember, and that entire fiasco had triggered alarm bells at the highest levels. But were their phones infected at that point with Pegasus? This is what the latest report by The Wire is suggesting. Let's go across to my colleague Arvind Gunasekar joining us. Arvind, take us through the highlights of this revelation.
Sonal, a new report has come out from The Wire, which is part of the international collaboration that is doing the Pegasus project, a series of stories. And this particular story is relating to the CBI, where the story reveals, the story states that hours after the then CBI Director Alok Verma was removed as the CBI chief, his number, also his family numbers were entered into the surveillance zone. That's what this particular story is revealing. This story says on October 23, 2018, when Alok Verma was ousted as the CBI chief, his number, his 3 mobile numbers, also his wife, also his daughter, and also his son-in-law, all their numbers were entered into the surveillance zone. That's what this particular story is telling about. Out of the 10 numbers the entire family had, all these 10 numbers, 10 phones were sent to Amnesty International for forensic examination, and it shows that at least 8 phones were compromised to the Pegasus through the Pegasus spyware, and 2 phones were potential targets. So that's a revelation, a part of the story. Along with Alok Verma, the story also states that Rakesh Asthana, who was the deputy, who was the special director in CBI, his number was also added to the surveillance zone. Also, A.K. Sharma, who was the joint director policy, which is one of the most sensitive posts in the entire CBI, his number was also added to this particular list that the story states. So, if you could remember, Alok Verma and Rakesh Asthana had an ugly public fight that led to ouster of both Alok Verma and also Asthana. Even A.K. Sharma, who was the then joint director of policy in CBI, he was also removed from that particular sensitive post. But this particular story states that all these 3 senior officials of CBI, their numbers were included in the surveillance zone, and then the forensic examination of at least 10 mobile phones were conducted by Amnesty International, all linked to Alok Verma and his family members. At least 8 of these phones had a spyware Pegasus. So this is a very interesting story that has come out now. We did try to reach out to Alok Verma, but Alok Verma has not responded to our messages or calls. We are trying for his reaction on this. Sonal?
Arvind Gunasekar, we're also getting reports that the phones of Anil Ambani were also on that list. What more do we know on this front?
Yeah, a series of stories being done by Wire, which is part of the international collaboration. The first story today they revealed was something relating to the CBI, and the second story is relating to the businessman. This particular story is just coming out. We have to get more information on this particular story. But the Wire report says that not just the politicians, not just the journalists, not just the social activists, and also the bureaucrats. The story also says that several high-profile businessmen were also under the surveillance zone through the Pegasus spyware, and that's the story that Wire has put out now. We are still awaiting more information on that particular story.